1 month into our marriage, my husband, Leo, came home drunk and brought his assistant, Sophia, with him. He forced her to kneel on the floor in front of me and apologize until her forehead was bruised. He claimed he had made a terrible mistake by sleeping with her. He seemed so genuinely remorseful that I found it in my heart to forgive him. I thought we could move past it. That feeling lasted until the company's anniversary celebration. In front of all our colleagues and business partners, Leo made a public announcement. He said that Sophia was pregnant with his child, and that this child would be the designated heir to the Vance Group. Later that evening, after the guests had left, he knelt before me, not in apology, but in explanation. He told me that Sophia was an orphan and this child was the only family she would ever have. He insisted that she didn't want any official title or status. He even suggested that the child could be raised under my name after it was born, and Sophia would only want to see the child occasionally. He explained that Sophia had been anxious and needed his support every day. He promised he would come back to see me on the weekends, and that once the baby was born, he would make everything up to me. I nodded, feeling a profound numbness spread through me. "You're right," I said, my voice even. "Your assistant has a difficult road ahead. It's only right that you spend more time with her." Leo smiled, a cool, relieved expression on his face. "Clara, I knew you'd be the most sensible about this." With that, he picked up the suitcase he had already packed and walked out the door. The moment he was gone, I twisted the wedding ring off my finger. I made a phone call to an old friend from college, Daniel. "An abandoned woman getting a divorce," I said into the phone. "Do you still want me?" On the other end, I could hear the tears of joy in his voice when he replied, "Yes, even with a child, I still do." I began to pack my own things, my gaze sweeping over the wedding room that still felt new and festive. A sharp bitterness rose in my chest. I thought back to our innocent first love in college, the sweet and simple life we had built after graduation. I truly believed we would be different from everyone else, that our story would go from the university campus to a wedding dress without any of the usual heartbreaks. But the temptations of the world had found us after all. Tears welled in my eyes, and I closed them tightly, forcing them back. Just as I was dragging my luggage toward the front door, my phone rang. It was Leo. "Clara, you need to come to the Wangjing Villa right now," he said, his tone anxious and impatient. "Sophia suddenly feels panicked and unwell." I looked down at my hands. These were the hands of a surgeon, hands that had performed countless operations to save lives. Now, I was being asked to use them to treat my husband's lover. But the divorce papers weren't signed yet. I turned my car around and headed for the villa. When I arrived, the front door was wide open. I could see Leo holding Sophia gently, his face filled with a tenderness and consideration I had never seen him show me. "Be good," he murmured to her. "Drink this calming soup and you won't feel uncomfortable anymore. I simmered it for 3 hours just for you." Even though I had prepared myself, a sour bitterness still churned in my stomach. Leo, who had been pampered his entire life and had everything handed to him, was now brewing soup for someone else. I took a deep breath and walked inside. Leo stood up in a fluster when he saw me, then seemed to remember why he had called. He quickly wrapped his arm around Sophia's waist. "Still feeling dizzy?" he asked her softly, before turning his gaze to me. "Clara, Sophia has been feeling chest tightness and dizziness. Please check on her quickly." Sophia clung to Leo's arm, leaning her whole body into his embrace. "Sis, I already said I'm fine," she said weakly. "Leo insisted on calling you. I just feel so terrible inside, like I've wronged you. I despise homewreckers the most, yet I—" Her voice choked up as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Sophia, how many times have I told you?" Leo comforted her with deep concern. "It was my mistake when I got drunk. You're not the other woman. You did it all for the child." He gestured around the room. "Look, I've redecorated everything, our wedding photos, your favorite roses. From now on, this will be our home." Only then did I notice the room was filled with intimate photos of the two of them. Pictures of them walking together, dining together, and one where Leo was carrying her on his back, running across a lawn. The white hem of her dress fluttered high in the air. They must have been so happy. I wondered when it had all started, a month ago, 2 months, or even longer. Leo had never laughed so freely with me. He was always busy, even during our trips, spending half the time looking down at his phone, handling work. But sis, Sophia glanced at me, her expression timid and guilty. Leo quickly pulled me in front of her. Clara, tell Sophia she's not the other woman and that she didn't ruin our relationship. Tell her you're willing to be sisters with her. Watching Leo's anxious expression, a cold laugh escaped my lips. Leo, you want me to call the other woman my sister? Are you trying to live out some ancient fantasy of two wives serving one husband? My gaze shifted to Sophia. And you don't have to put on this act. You can't be a thief and expect a monument built in your honor. You know exactly what you're scheming. You're trying to use the child's status to force me out so you can marry Leo and become Mrs. Vance, right? Sophia's face turned pale, then flushed with anger as I exposed her so directly. Tears welled up in her eyes, hovering on the brink of falling. How could you say that about me? Isn't that what you're thinking? I challenged. Then sign this document now. After you give birth, leave for abroad immediately and never see Leo again. We'll cover all the child's expenses. Sophia stared at the agreement I handed her, then suddenly gasped for breath, clutching her chest tightly. Leo, I don't want this child anymore. I can't. Her eyes rolled back and she collapsed completely into Leo's arms. Leo panicked, patting her face frantically. Wake up! I'm taking you to the hospital right now. As he passed by me, he suddenly raised his hand and slapped me hard across the face. Clara, I've been too lenient with you, making you forget your place. That's the Vance family's bloodline you've coldly ignored. Sophia is so innocent and sensitive, always feeling guilty towards you and constantly yielding, yet you actually stabbed her in the heart with a knife. He turned to his bodyguards. Someone lock the mistress in the basement. She is not to be let out without my orders. With that, he carried Sophia and strode away. As they went out the door, Sophia's head hung over his shoulder, and she looked at me with a gaze full of scorn and disdain. I struggled desperately, but the bodyguards overpowered me and tied me to a chair in the basement. I screamed, but they pulled out a tattered piece of cloth and stuffed it into my mouth. The foul stench made me vomit violently, and my screams were reduced to muffled whimpers. The basement was pitch black. After struggling for what felt like an eternity, I collapsed weakly onto the chair. At first, my stomach growled with hunger, but eventually, only waves of nausea and sharp pain remained. I drifted in and out of consciousness, my entire body numb, my limbs feeling as if they were no longer under my control. I don't know how much time had passed when the basement door opened. Leo, supporting Sophia, stood tall at the entrance. Clara, have you thought it through? If you admit your mistake now and apologize to Sophia, I'll let you out immediately. You must be hungry after being locked up for 2 days. I mustered what little strength I had left, wanting to curse back at him. Bastard, what did I do wrong? Was it wrong not to applaud and celebrate you finding a mistress? Or not serving your mistress during her pregnancy? But as soon as I opened my mouth, everything suddenly went black and I fainted. In my daze, I felt a warm embrace holding me. Why are you so stubborn? Leo's voice said. How are you going to get along with Sophia like this? You really need to soften your temper. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a hospital bed. My wrist was wrapped in thick gauze. I was just about to move when a nurse walked in. Don't move, your wrist just had surgery. I looked at my wrist in confusion. I had only been hungry for 2 days. What happened to my hand? At that moment, my good friend and mentor, Director Lee, walked in. He looked at me and sighed. Dr. Evans, how could you not know to take care of your own hands? Do you know that for a doctor, hands are life itself? Your wrist had obstructed blood flow for too long, causing extensive nerve necrosis. Who knows how long it will take for you to recover? My heart instantly turned cold. Being a doctor was my dream. I had knelt before my father for a full day and night, resisting family pressure and abandoning business administration just to study clinical medicine. Although I had only graduated 3 years ago, I had been practicing and studying day and night and was recently promoted to attending physician. I looked at my stiff fingers, a sharp pain spreading throughout my body. Leo, how could you do this to me? You knew perfectly well. Why did you treat me like this? The door suddenly swung open. Leo walked in with his arm around Sophia. "Do you admit your mistake?" he asked. As he spoke, he glanced at my hand. "If you hadn't been unreasonable and shamelessly insulted Sophia, I wouldn't have hurt your hand." "Forget it. I never intended to send you to the hospital anyway. That place reeks of disinfectant all day. Once Sophia gives birth, you might as well stay home and take care of the baby." Hearing Leo's utterly emotionless words, my heart seemed to stop beating. I couldn't tell if it was my chest that hurt or my body. Those words of encouragement and admiration from our past gradually faded. I thought our arranged marriage was different, that he was the one who understood me. 20 years of being together, day and night, going to school together, playing wildly together. It was he who had knelt with me in the rain, supporting my dreams. It was he who waited outside the lab, holding my hand tenderly and rubbing it with concern. Alas, the boy who stood by me through thick and thin ultimately faded into the passage of time. I slapped his outstretched hand away. "Leo, take your mistress and get out. I want a divorce." "Clara, don't think you can keep lording it over me just because of the Evans family's high status. I, Leo, don't have to." Leo grabbed my wrist abruptly, his words cutting off mid-sentence. Blood quickly soaked through the gauze. Leo stared at my hand in confusion, his expression crumbling piece by piece before he roared angrily. "Doctor, where's the doctor? Come check my wife's hand now. If anything happens to it, I'll tear this hospital apart." The doctor arrived quickly, removed the gauze, and wheeled me back into the operating room. An hour later, I was sent back to the ward, my face pale. Director Lee glared at me angrily. "How could you play such a joke with your own hand? Do you still want to step into an operating room again? Just for a scumbag, you degrade yourself like this. Don't call yourself my apprentice anymore. I can't bear the shame." With a sidelong glance at Leo, he left. Leo also had a dark expression on his face. "Clara, when will you ever change your temper? Can't you be as understanding as Sophia?" He gestured to Sophia, nestled in his arms, appearing frightened and uneasy. A cold smile curled at the corner of my lips. The teacher was right. For such a scumbag, I really did act impulsively. "Leo, this is just who I am. I can't change it, nor can I become someone like you who keeps mistresses without shame. Let's get a divorce." Leo was completely infuriated by my indifference. He immediately pointed at me and roared, "Enough, Clara. Don't threaten me with divorce. Sophia is someone I must take care of. She's carrying my Vance family's bloodline. I'm not as cold-blooded and heartless as you. There are still 6 months until Sophia's delivery. You'd better reflect on yourself. Otherwise, Sophia won't feel safe entrusting the child to someone as narrow-minded and selfish as you." I smiled indifferently. "Leo, I don't care to raise the child of your mistress either. If you won't divorce, then we'll take it to court." Leo shuddered, trembling with rage. "Clara, you'd actually consider taking this to court? You don't even care about the reputations of the Vance and Evans families anymore? Can't you just tolerate Sophia? In today's society, someone of my status who doesn't have a confidant outside, I didn't hide it from you, which already shows my respect for you. And now you want a divorce? You should reflect on yourself." After saying this, Leo put his arm around Sophia and walked away without looking back. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. All these years of yielding and giving in to him had made him take me for granted, completely disregarding my feelings. The love that once existed vanished in that moment. For an entire week, Leo didn't show up at the hospital again. From Sophia's social media, I saw him accompanying her to see the ancient city walls, wearing an apron to make soup for her. He just let her take photos and post them on social media. He once said he hated posting on social media the most. As a boss, engaging in such attention-seeking behavior was just embarrassing. Once, I even dragged him to take a quick photo for my social media, and he immediately turned sour, snatched my phone, and deleted it within 10 seconds. But now, he stood under the ancient city wall, smiling brightly with Sophia in his arms. Love and indifference are indeed unmistakably clear. On the 8th day, Leo came to complete my discharge procedures. I followed behind him indifferently without arguing with him. As soon as we entered the villa, we heard sharp, piercing screams coming from inside. Before I could react, Leo rushed in like the wind, and I hurriedly followed. Two homeless men were grabbing Sophia and tearing at her clothes. "Sweetheart, someone paid me to serve you, so stop pretending," one of them sneered. Sophia knelt on the ground, wailing and begging for mercy and despair. "Don't touch me! Please, I beg you, don't touch me!" Her clothes were already torn to shreds, her long hair tangled with tears and strewn across her face. Leo rushed forward in a few quick strides, throwing a punch at one of the vagrants. He then scooped up Sophia and held her tightly in his arms. The bodyguards charged in, wielding batons. The two vagrants panicked and fled, scrambling over the courtyard wall to escape. Sophia was crying so hard she lost her voice. "Leo, someone paid them to come," she said, pointing at me angrily. "Miss Evans, why are you so cruel? I'm still carrying Leo's child." With that, she pushed Leo away and turned to kneel before me, kowtowing frantically. "Sister, I'm kowtowing to you. It's all my fault. Please spare my child. Once he's born, I promise I'll never see Leo again. I'll go to the mountains in the northwest. Please, I beg you, spare my child." Sophia knocked her head with such force that within moments, a large bump swelled on her forehead, oozing dark red blood. Leo, heartbroken, pulled Sophia into a tight embrace. "Sophia, it's all my fault. I failed to protect you." Sophia gazed miserably at Leo, her face a picture of wretchedness, and let out a heart-wrenching cry. "Leo, let me go!" Sobbing uncontrollably, she collapsed into his arms. Leo's eyes reddened as he desperately kissed her forehead to comfort her. "Sophia, I won't let you go. Don't leave me. I thought life would just go on like this. You being so gentle and kind. Yet heaven brought you to me. You are the woman I love most in this lifetime." The piercing words scraped like ice knives against my heart. Even with no hope left, the pain kept coming in waves, tears swelling in my eyes. I stepped back, wanting to escape this glaring scene. The sound of the moving chair startled Leo. He raised his head, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at me, a surge of fury raging within them. "Clara, since you're so ruthless, don't blame me for being merciless." With that, he turned to the two bodyguards who had just rushed back. "Drag the madam inside. She's yours now." The two bodyguards froze, exchanging glances but remaining rooted to the spot. Leo furiously kicked a chair away. "What are you still standing there for? Do you even want this job?" They took a step forward, one of them hesitantly speaking up. "President Vance, we shouldn't be rude to the madam." Leo looked at me coldly. "What madam? From now on, your madam is Sophia. Got it? If you can't tell who's in charge, get out immediately." The two of them immediately dragged me toward the room. I kicked and struggled desperately, roaring in anger. "Leo, you bastard! Tell them to let me go! It really wasn't me!" Behind me came Leo's icy voice. "Only when you have a stain on yourself will you not look down on Sophia, and then you can be honest and steady." The room door slammed shut. In that instant, through the gap, I saw Leo pick up Sophia and stride out of the villa. A wave of fear spread throughout my body. "Big bro, second bro, Leo has gone mad! Don't you two be foolish!" The two men suddenly shed their previous humility and hesitation, their faces twisting into sinister grins. "Apologies, madam, but someone paid us handsomely to serve you." With that, they lunged forward and began tearing at my clothes. I scrambled backward across the bed, kicking and thrashing desperately. The older one punched me in the head. Stars flashed before my eyes, and I collapsed weakly to the ground. The second one hesitated. "Bro, if we do this, Vance won't hold it against us later, right?" "Idiot! Who does the boss listen to now? It's all up to Miss Sophia. If anything happens, Miss Sophia just needs to act cute and shed a few tears, and the boss will obediently comply. Today's our lucky day. This high and mighty lady who usually looks down on everyone will be begging for mercy beneath us brothers. Ha ha." "That's right. These legs are so straight, and her skin is so smooth." As he spoke, one of them gave me a vicious pinch. I jolted awake with a start. Just as I tried to struggle, the two men quickly pinned down my hands while their hairy paws roamed and groped over my body. One of them let out a muffled groan. "I can't take it anymore." With a fierce lunge, he pounced onto my chest, biting down hard with his mouth. I screamed, "Ah!" and kicked my legs wildly. A sharp slap landed on my face with a loud smack, followed by another one right by my ear. My head buzzed with a ringing noise, and I had no strength left in my body. I collapsed limply onto the ground, tears streaming down from the corners of my eyes. "Quick, take the picture," one of them said. "Big brother, why are you the first one up?" "Shut up! Do you still want the house or not?" Just as I was biting the tip of my tongue, mustering the last bit of strength to kick him in the groin, the door suddenly burst open and an enraged voice thundered through the air. "Stop!" As he spoke, several bodyguards rushed in and quickly overpowered the two men. Through my tear-blurred vision, I saw Daniel's anxious face. "Clara! Clara! Are you okay?" I froze for a moment, then burst into loud sobs. "Daniel, you're here!" Daniel pulled me into a tight embrace, gently patting my back. It's okay. I'm here now. It's all over." At that moment, I cried my heart out, weeping with sorrow and grievance. It was the first time in my life I had cried so miserably. After a long while, Daniel held my face. "I'm sorry I came too late. I didn't take good care of you." As he spoke, he pulled out a large pink diamond ring and slipped it onto my finger. "From now on, I'll never leave you again." Through Daniel's remorseful account, I learned that he had gone to South Africa these past few days, personally selected a top-quality pink diamond, and crafted this ring for me himself. An hour later, the two attackers knelt before my parents. Leo stood in the living room with a grim expression. He glared fiercely at Daniel, angrily demanding, "Mr. Carter, let go of Clara. She's my wife." "Clara, you knew perfectly well that Daniel still had ulterior motives toward you. Why did you call him?" Daniel was about to speak when I reached out and patted the back of his hand. "Leo, if I don't call him, should I call you instead? Can you save me?" Looking at my icy expression, Leo felt somewhat flustered. Today, seeing Sophia being bullied and crying so miserably, he had momentarily lost his temper. But the two attackers were his own people, having followed him for over 10 years. They were just trying to scare me a bit. They wouldn't actually do anything to me. My father stood up, walked over to Leo, and slapped him hard across the face, trembling with rage. "You beast! I entrusted Clara to you, and this is how you treat her." With that, he threw the recorded video in front of him. He never imagined his beloved daughter would suffer such humiliation. Back then, Leo had knelt before him, swearing solemnly that he would treat Clara well and cherish her for life. Only then had he agreed to the marriage alliance. Never did he expect that Leo could commit such an utterly despicable act. Watching the video of me being stripped naked, screaming and begging hoarsely for mercy, while the men viciously groped and pinched me, Leo was nearly broken. He collapsed to his knees with a thud. "Dad, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I'll accept any punishment. From now on, I'll take good care of Clara. The one I've always loved is Clara. This time, I was truly momentarily confused." I watched coldly. "Leo, now you realize it was a momentary lapse of judgment? But what about Sophia? How do you plan to handle her?" Leo frowned in deep thought. "Clara, you know I only feel pity for Sophia. She's carrying my child. Let's discuss this after she gives birth, all right?" My father let out a long sigh and spoke slowly. "Leo, do you like Clara just for the sake of cooperation? Clara is the most suitable wife for you, so you're unwilling to let go?" My father stared intently at Leo. He left the latter half unsaid as everyone understood. The Vance family's business had long been in decline due to Leo's father's reckless ways, and marrying into the Evans family was his best option. Besides, we grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Call it a marriage alliance, but in reality, it was just my family's one-sided support all these years. He refused to acknowledge his reliance on the Evans family and couldn't even discern his own feelings for me. The air was thick with prolonged silence. Leo just stared at me in agony, watching as Daniel and I held each other's hands tightly. At this moment, his heart suddenly felt empty, overwhelmed by boundless fear. The thought of Clara calling someone else husband and sleeping with another man made his heart ache violently. He didn't know if he had loved Clara all these years, but he had never considered leaving her. As for Sophia, he only pitied her. Every time she looked at him timidly, his heart would soften, and he wanted to protect her. but he had never thought of spending his life with her. He just couldn't help wanting to take care of her, especially since she didn't even demand a title and was carrying his child. Now he suddenly became clear-headed. Clara had already become part of his life, an inseparable existence. The naive love of youth, the mutual support in the tree shadows. Thinking of this, Leo was overwhelmed with regret. Why did he keep Sophia's child back then? Why did he tie her up in the basement? Why did he let his men humiliate her like that? Leo suddenly stood up, staring at me with wide eyes. Clara, I figured it out now. The one I love is you. I know I was wrong. I didn't want to argue with him anymore, so I took out the divorce agreement and threw it at him. Leo, sign it. You don't want this to go to court, do you? Leo threw the divorce agreement away. Clara, I really know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I'll send Sophia abroad immediately and never see her again, okay? He was just about to reach out to pull me when Daniel swatted his hand away. Vance, can one wrong word erase everything? What's the point of having laws then? With that, he picked up the recording and handed it to Leo. This counts as attempted bullying. If the upper circles knew that Vance actually had his bodyguards bully his own wife, I wonder if they'd praise you for your audacity. I stood up and slowly walked over to Leo. Leo, if you don't sign, the court will rule against you anyway. Do you want to be disgraced? The love I thought I had might not be what I imagined. Perhaps it was just someone else's habit. From the way he looked at Sophia with pity, lowering himself to accommodate her, I knew our relationship was over. It's just the accumulation of disappointments, piling up into a small mountain, leading to complete despair. Leo stared fixedly at me, his eyes gradually revealing sorrow, then turning bloodshot with obsession and anger. Suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped himself hard, then again. The crisp sound of slaps echoed through the living room. I don't know how many slaps he gave himself, but his face was swollen and red, almost to the point of bleeding. Clara, I'm the one who wronged you. I was out of my mind. I just beg you to give me one more chance. I know you're just using Daniel to make me jealous. You don't actually like him. He's pursued you for 6 years, and you never paid him any attention. How could you suddenly decide to marry him now? I pushed him away with a shove and let out a scornful laugh. Leo, Daniel did chase me for 6 years without winning my heart, but I'm clear-headed now. From the moment you abandoned our future child and openly flaunted your relationship with Sophia, your love became worthless. When you locked me in the basement, I was utterly disillusioned. And when you had your bodyguards assault me, every shred of affection between us vanished. If you're asking how I feel about you now, let me tell you. I fixed Leo with an icy stare. Only hatred. I wish you were dead. Leo looked at me in panic, roaring hoarsely. No, it's not like that. These were all accidents. I never meant to hurt you. You're too dazzling, always acting so superior. I just wanted to make you softer, to have you look at me with admiration. I just wanted to temper your nature. Clara, the one I've always liked is you. Before he could finish, I coldly interrupted. Leo, your love is too cheap. I don't want it anymore, nor do I want to hear your explanations. I loved you, but that's in the past. Please don't appear in front of me again and disturb my life. Leo ultimately refused to sign the divorce agreement, no matter what. I had no choice but to file a lawsuit in court. The judge frowned tightly while reviewing the evidence I submitted. Leo looked very upset. He was gambling on our 20 years of growing up together, betting that I wouldn't have the heart to sue him or expose his disgraceful deeds to the public. In the end, I didn't hold him legally accountable. Under mediation, I received a 20% share compensation. Leo signed the divorce agreement with a dark expression. Rumors still spread in the city, and many became aware of Leo's outrageous behavior, beginning to scorn him. Not sure if it was my family's sudden withdrawal of investment, but the Vance Corporation's orders halved within just a month. Leo just holed up in the villa, looking listless. Sophia, despite her heavy pregnancy, coaxed him daily and deliberately teased him. At first, Leo would play along with her, but gradually he grew irritable. No matter how Sophia clung or pestered him, Leo remained disinterested, even starting to stay out overnight, mingling with bar girls. He would call me when he was drunk, but All I would hear from the other end was the mechanical voice of a woman. Sorry, the number you dialed is currently busy. Leo's temper grew increasingly violent, his rage burning fiercely, ready to explode at any moment. Sophia wore a nightgown as thin as a cicada's wing, coiling around Leo like a water snake, but he just pushed her away impatiently, muttering to himself, Clara is still angry. I need to talk to her properly. He began tidying up the villa, replanting the lilies that had been uprooted before, reinstalling the swing in the yard exactly as it was, and replacing the sofa in the living room. As the wind blew under the starry sky, he seemed to see me waiting for him, seeing him return from work, my lips curling into a big smile as I rushed into his arms. Leo truly regretted it, regretting it every single moment. If not for that moment of weakness, if not for craving a less demanding admiration, if not for wanting to suppress me and mold me into what he desired, perhaps everything would have been different. But don't many men in his circle have a confidant? Why couldn't I just talk to him properly? If I had been more gentle, perhaps he wouldn't have doted on Sophia so much. A month later, the news was flooded with reports of my engagement to Daniel. In the photo, Daniel had his arm around me, our heads leaning close together, making one can't help but admire our perfect match. Leo couldn't accept it. He thought I was just angry with him, and once the anger subsided, I would see my own heart clearly and return to him. He was so furious that he smashed everything in the bedroom. Only then did he realize that all the photos in the bedroom were of him and Sophia, with not a single one featuring me. He couldn't help but recall that when he married me, afraid of people gossiping about him climbing the social ladder by attaching himself to the Evans family, he hadn't invited any media coverage. Our wedding photos were actually composites made from my own photos, and the banquet was only attended by close relatives and friends. Back then, he made the excuse that he didn't like taking photos, that it made him nervous, and I actually believed it. After knowing each other for 20 years and being married for 3, Leo only now realized he didn't have a single photo with me. Leo slumped to the ground in despair. At this moment, he deeply realized that I had truly left him. Sophia just smugly looked at the newspaper. Leo, a fickle woman like her, leaving her is your blessing. Otherwise, who knows how many times she'd make you a cuckold. Leo glared darkly at Sophia as all the past memories flooded his mind. He had always had a high alcohol tolerance, so how could he have gotten so drunk that day that he remembered nothing? But just that one time, Sophia ended up pregnant. She held the pregnancy test results, tears welling up in her eyes as she looked at him. Vance, don't worry, I won't bother you. He is my child alone, my only family in this world. I will raise him by myself. That day, she stubbornly looked at him with tears streaming down her face. His heart softened, and he agreed to let her keep the child. Gradually, things changed. She would come to him when her stomach hurt or when she was scared of the rain. Before he knew it, he had ended up in bed with her. She would cry about not wanting to be the other woman who ruins a family, yet she used the child as an excuse to cling to him every night, demanding his company. If she truly had the moral integrity she claimed, she wouldn't have sought him out again, let alone ended up in bed with him once more. There were also his 2 bodyguards. He clearly hadn't ordered them to tie me up, so why had they bound me to a chair for 2 days? That day, he had been angry that Sophia was humiliated, so he told them to teach me a lesson. But how could they have taken it so far? Although afterward they insisted it was his order, the 2 had always been perceptive. Why hadn't they understood his meaning that day and dared to mistreat me? Leo clenched his slender fingers until they creaked, his eyes brewing with turbulent waves. Everything seemed not as simple as he had thought. Sophia was still chattering on. Good riddance. Now the 3 of us can be together openly without having to put up with that gloomy face every day. Leo's cold voice rang out. Sophia, have you always wanted Clara to leave? Of course, I don't want to be a canary. I want to fight alongside you and openly become Mrs. Vance. The words came to an abrupt halt as Sophia suddenly noticed Leo's terribly gloomy expression. Sophia only felt the atmosphere turn chilly, and a sense of unease rose in her heart. Though she couldn't pinpoint the reason for it, she had always made it clear she didn't want to be the other woman or mistress. He knew that. So why did he look so upset now? Leo walked up to Sophia, grabbed her by the neck, and demanded harshly, Sophia, was it you who colluded with my bodyguards? Was it you who forced Clara to leave? Have I spoiled you too much, making you forget your place? How dare you scheme against me? Yes, back when she graduated from university and came to the company for an interview, he initially didn't want to hire her because she gave off a green tea vibe. But he had said she was an orphan who had suffered hardships and would surely be more capable than those delicate little girls. So he kept her and gave her a high salary. Who would have thought her ambitions were so grand? The job was just a stepping stone. Leo was her real target. That's why she gave up her job in the sales department and willingly took the dead-end position as a personal assistant. Sophia flushed red, her eyes brimming with tears. I didn't. It was Clara herself. Sophia turned pale and purple, desperately clawing at Leo's hands while making intermittent sounds. Her face gradually turned deathly pale as her body went limp. Just as she was about to suffocate to death, Leo flung her away. After regaining her life, Sophia lay on the ground, gasping for air, tears falling drop by drop onto the floor. She didn't know how much Leo had sobered up, so she could only resort to her usual tricks. Leo, I know you value loyalty and righteousness. It was clearly your sister who changed her affections, not you who disregarded your 20 years of bond. How can you say it was me who forced her to leave? Leo, I know I shouldn't have been the other woman. It was shameless of me to fall for you. I accept your sister's scolding and humiliation. But I thought you understood me, yet you actually... Sophia lay on the ground, her eyes red like a rabbit's, her slender body heaving with sobs, utterly overwhelmed by grievance. Leo looked coldly at the woman on the ground, feeling a wave of self-mockery. In the past, he had fallen for her act, even admiring her for being strong, brave, and reasonable. He had been like a fool, played like a puppet in her hands. How pitiful and laughable. Secretary Wang, send Miss Sophia to the police station and hand over the footage to them. Ask them to investigate the two former bodyguards thoroughly. Leo's icy words left Sophia utterly panicked. She stared at Leo in terror, her mind consumed by a single thought. He knows everything. He knows it all. Sophia, her eyes filled with despair, suddenly lunged forward and grabbed Leo's pant leg. Leo, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been jealous of my sister. Please don't send me to the police station. As she spoke, she abruptly pulled open her clothes. Leo, my child, this is the bloodline of the Vance family. How could you bear to let him be born in prison? He would never be able to hold his head high for the rest of his life. Leo's gaze fell upon Sophia's swollen belly, his expression inscrutable. Yes, this child was a mistake from the start. The Vance family must not be shamed because of him. Leo took a deep breath. Xiao Wang, Xiao Ju, take Miss Sophia to the hospital and terminate the pregnancy immediately. Sophia completely broke down, stepping back repeatedly while shaking her head desperately. No, you can't terminate the baby. Leo, you said this child would be the future successor of the Vance group. You can't heartlessly abort them. Leo stepped forward, gripping her chin firmly. I said he is the Vance group's successor because his mother must be Clara. What right do you have? You were just a drunken mistake. I kept you by my side to take care of you because I thought you knew your place. I never expected you'd dare lay a hand on Clara. Seeing the coldness in Leo's eyes, Sophia was utterly terrified. She couldn't understand why Leo, who had always doted on and indulged her, had suddenly changed. Now she had only one thought: to get away from this lunatic immediately. She was already 8 months pregnant. Having an abortion now would cost her half her life. Sophia suddenly pushed Leo down and rushed toward the door like a madwoman. Leo waved his hand, and the two new bodyguards stopped Sophia, dragging her out. Sophia screamed and pleaded desperately, but the bodyguards found a piece of torn cloth from somewhere and stuffed it into her mouth, leaving only muffled sobs echoing in the hallway. Within 2 hours, the bodyguards sent over the abortion procedure form. Leo stared at the few simple words on the paper and suddenly felt a weight lift from his heart. He printed out the abortion report and rushed out of the company. He wanted to tell me that he had aborted Sophia's child, that he would send her to prison to avenge me, and that he would never make such a mistake again. I was actually at a hotel party with friends when Leo barged in. He saw several of his so-called close friends were all there. Daniel was also there. Brother Lee, I've always believed in you and your wife. You two are the most well-matched couple. Exactly. Clara has a cheerful and generous personality while Brother Lee is upright in character. It's truly a match made in heaven. Business families should maintain harmony to prosper. Daniel chuckled softly. Back then, I didn't have the ability to marry Clara, but now that I've established my career, I can finally rightfully take care of her. Listening to their conversation, Leo was nearly driven mad with anger. Just a while ago, they were praising him for his good fortune with women and teasing him about his capabilities. Little did he know they were actually laughing at his expense. Leo stepped forward and grabbed one of his good friends by the collar, his eyes blazing with fury. Clara and I are a match made in heaven? What nonsense are you talking? Have you all been waiting to see me make a fool of myself, which is why no one tried to stop me? As he spoke, he looked at Daniel. Clara didn't like you before. Do you think she'll suddenly change her mind now? She's just angry with me. Once she cools down, she'll come back to me. Daniel let out a light laugh. Leo, Clara used to like you, not me. And maybe she still doesn't like me even now. So what? I love her, and that's enough for me. Just being able to take care of her and see her happy satisfies me. Leo started breathing heavily, his face turning red. Daniel, there are so many women in the world. With your current status, you could have any woman you want. Why must you compete with me for a second-hand item? As soon as the words fell, a sharp slap landed on Leo's face. Daniel glared at him with icy eyes. In marriage, those who don't know how to cherish and discard one after another are the real second-hand goods. Clara is devoted and sincere in her feelings. What right do you have to call her second-hand? In my heart, Clara will always be a chaste woman. Leo was speechless, looking at me in embarrassment. Clara, that's not what I meant. I meant... He struggled to find words to explain, ultimately falling silent, just looking at me with sorrow. A brother nearby tried to persuade him. Forget it, Vance. You and Clara have reached the end of your relationship. She suffered a lot with you, enduring torment and humiliation several times. We're all part of the same circle. Better to part on good terms. Maybe Brother Lee can make Clara happy. Seeing everyone's expressions urging him to leave at this moment, Leo wanted to confront them, wanted to throw punches at them, but ultimately dropped his fists in defeat. Was it their fault? They had said much and joked often, none of it taken seriously. It was he who had lost himself, drowning in Sophia's tender embrace. They were merely pandering to his whims to please him. Leo finally left the room dejectedly, running alone to the hall, where he opened a row of white liquor, downing cup after cup. He drank until his eyes blurred with tears, collapsed to the ground, vomiting blood, yet still continued to drink with self-destructive frenzy. Perhaps only this way could he feel the pain I had felt back then, experience my despair and sorrow. In the end, Leo was taken to the hospital by others. The moment he opened his eyes and saw the lilies by the bedside, he was ecstatic. It was Clara. Clara had come. She still couldn't bear to leave him. She still loved him. It wasn't until the nurse came in that he learned it was a few friends who had brought him to the hospital, and the flowers were standard in every hospital room. Last night, Daniel and I went straight home to prepare for today's wedding. Turns out, our wedding was today. Leo yanked out his IV drip and rushed to the hotel like a madman. When he arrived, the wedding had just reached the vow exchange. Daniel took my hand, his eyes sparkling. Clara, no matter how many vows are made, they can change. What I want is your ability to restrain me. I've already transferred all my assets under your name, and all the money I earn in the future will also be in your name. This way, I will never betray you. If I do, I will punish myself, leaving me a penniless beggar. Clara, I love you. Even if you stop loving me, I still hope you have the ability to soar higher and farther. This vow shocked everyone, including me. I never expected Daniel to go this far for me. His words of love were so passionate, so sincere. Daniel confessed his secret crush on me in front of all the guests. He had liked me since college. It was love at first sight. Unfortunately, back then, he was just a poor boy, not yet the rising star of the city. I was a proud and spoiled rich girl, spending my days eating and drinking, occasionally dabbling in charity work. I don't know what he liked about me. At this moment, I felt panicked. Did I deserve such passionate love? What could I give him in return? Daniel seemed to have noticed my anxiety. He gently leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Clara, don't be afraid. Just be yourself. Even if you grow tired of me and want to leave, I'll still wish you happiness." He looked at me with such determination in his eyes, instantly melting away all my worries and anxieties. I wrapped my arms around his neck, stood on tiptoe, and gave him a deep kiss. The hall instantly erupted into warm applause. Witnessing this scene, Leo felt as if his heart was being torn apart. Fighting back tears, he maintained his last shred of dignity and slowly retreated. He had lost, utterly and completely. He knew he had completely lost me, the girl who had once adored him with all her heart, and I would never look back at him again. In the world of love, he was like a mischievous child, unworthy even to tie Daniel's shoelaces. Within a few days, Leo sent me a share transfer agreement, the Vance Group's 30% shares. Daniel wanted to refuse, but I stopped him. "Daniel, only by becoming stronger and more capable can you better protect me and accomplish what we want to do." Daniel pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Daniel's Lavina Technology Coma Limited began to grow rapidly, reaching the top of the city's tech industry in just half a year. Leo started developing a drinking problem. The Vance Corporation began to decline in reputation. He didn't care and just let it continue. It's said that he often visited Sophia in prison and would have people look after her from time to time. Oh, in just half a year, Sophia had become emaciated beyond recognition. When she saw Leo, she desperately begged for mercy. "President Vance, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been the other woman, shouldn't have ruined your family. Please spare me. Don't let them hit me anymore." Unfortunately, her remorse came too late and held no meaning anymore. A year later, I gave birth to a daughter. Daniel held our baby girl and cried tears of joy. "Clara, thank you. The scene from countless dreams. I finally made it come true." I smiled and gently patted his head. "Daniel, I'm in the dream too. It's a happy and everlasting one." Daniel held me tightly and I embraced him back, never letting go for the rest of our lives.